Suffice it to say, the last video did pretty well in terms of how videos normally do on this channel. It ticked all the boxes, so I figured I might as well go ahead and come out with the second video, which is Spider-Man 2. I said that before, but it's Spider-Man 2. That's the next entry in the MCU, quote unquote. Anyway, this movie came out in 2004. It takes place on the same Earth, which, checking my notes, is Earth 96283. And it's the sequel to Spider-Man, which is the movie I covered last video. So is this movie better than Spider-Man is probably the question you have to ask. And the answer is yes. And everyone agrees with me. Like, everyone agrees. Like, this movie is many people say it's, like, the best Spider-Man movie ever. And we'll see, obviously. I'm going to cover pretty much all of them. I would say it's very much up there. The characters in this movie, yes, Mary Jane still kind of sucks. Yeah, Harry still kind of sucks. But, again, Otto Octavius is such a good villain that it's very, very hard to not still like the film. And the action scenes that were dated in Spider-Man seem to almost be a little less dated in Spider-Man 2. And I know it came out 2 years later, but there shouldn't have been that much of a difference, and there still was. It felt a lot less dated. And that's a good thing. It finally started to come into its own as a franchise, and I felt like this movie series was on a really, really, really good track. Of course, that would all end later, but this series was on a good track, especially with this movie, and I thought it was going to be pretty tough to top Spider-Man. I mean, that movie is really good, and sure, it's not perfect, sure, there are problems, but it's very hard to make a good sequel in Hollywood, and the fact that Sam Raimi was basically able to do it with ease is insane. I mean, he had 2 years. It's not like he had, like, 4 or even 3. I mean, 3 years would have been the normal time for a movie to come out. I know that the Star Wars prequels came out 3 years ahead of each other. So, 3 years should be about that much time. And look at what George Lucas did. He fucked it up. But Sam Raimi, around the same time, mind you, was able to make an amazing sequel and an amazing second film. And it's just insane to me that this movie is as good as it is. So moving on, the number one thing in this movie that I have a problem with is still Mary Jane and Harry Osborn. These are not good characters. They're just not, and I don't know how to explain it, but I just don't like them. They don't feel like they serve well as foils to Peter. It almost feels like he's being held down because of them. Harry constantly talks about how he wants to kill Spider-Man. And in this movie, he finds out that Peter is Spider-Man. And it's just awful. It's just god-awful. I mean, if you thought that Spider-Man killed your father, right, you would be mad at him. But why would that be your only motivation to do literally anything? Why would you constantly mention it to Peter? I know he photographs him for the Daily Bugle. I understand that component of it. But, oh my god, shut up. Like, it's so annoying. It's just every scene he's in, you know he's going to mention Spider-Man. It's like, please shut up. Mary Jane has no real problems in this movie, and yet she still whines like the entire movie. God, she's just so unlikable. I'm sorry. And you know what the best part is? Is that, like, in the actual, like, main MCU timeline, they do MJ so well. It's not even Mary Jane, but they do Michelle so well. And I'm just like, why couldn't Mary Jane have just been even slightly like Zendaya's character? Like, it's not even funny. Like, it's just, and she constantly needs saving, too. It's like, stop. Like, come on. Come on, girl. Come on. This is ridiculous. But yeah, no. Mary Jane is just not a very likable character, even in this movie. Otto Octavius is also a really sympathetic villain. Like, you don't sympathize with Norman. At least you shouldn't. In my opinion, you shouldn't. He's just good because he's really, really, really evil. Otto is not as evil. But he's also, like, very, 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 very sympathetic. Like, you want to sympathize with him. And you almost feel bad for him the entire movie. This movie also has an amazing amount of memes that sure have been memed to, like, oblivion. But they're still good. Like, they're still good memes. There's a lot of, like, funny moments, like, especially when Peter does say pizza time. I know it's, like, a very worn-out meme, but I laughed at it. I was like, this is funny. If I saw that in a theater, I would find that super, super funny. So, this movie definitely hits home for me. I think I'm gonna rate it like a 9 out of 10, but like a very solid 9. We're talking like 9.5 territory. And that's really, really, really close to perfection. And I think for a Spider-Man movie, this is definitely up there. It's definitely better than the first one. Um, and yeah, I just really hope that this movie series is really concluded in a very satisfying way. That makes me feel like it's a very good franchise and doesn't belittle it in any way. And yes, that means that the next movie we're going to be talking about is Spider-Man 3. Um, Yay! Fun! Woohoo! No, but as much as I'm dreading that, Spider-Man 2 was spectacular. It was amazing. It was ultimate. Okay, I'm just coming up with all the different ways to describe Spider-Man, but it is amazing. I really do recommend you check it out. It is not on streaming services as well, I'm pretty sure, but again, I think they're on Peacock, maybe. Maybe check Peacock? I feel like these ones are on Peacock. I don't know, I didn't use Peacock. I own the movies on DVD, so I just watched it on that. Um, I can't recommend pirating. But, if you were to do that, I wouldn't bat an eye. So, you know. Yeah, you do what you gotta do. You do what you gotta do. Yeah. I think this movie also takes place in the timeline at, like, 2005 or something. I don't know. I've been told many different things. It takes place 2 years, I think, after Spider-Man. So he's, like, deep into college now. But, honestly, like, it doesn't matter at all. In the main MCU timeline, it just takes place in a different universe. That's really all you gotta know. And yeah. Anyway, I thank you all so very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, hit the notification button. That's a really fun button. I would recommend you hit it. Hit the like button, and just watch the video, because that helps me out too. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Alright, moving on.